Exclusive contract with Feilu Fiction Network novel. Diga. Women's clothing tricks Dagu for 2 years. Lina and I get married, traverse through the world of ultras and become a Jestis human body. Does women's clothing increase proficiency by 100 times? 100% proficiency, directly unlock Regal form. Dagu said, I have always regarded you as my best companion, but in constant battles, I have. Qin Chuan silently took off his coat and revealed his flamboyant ferocity, saying, Dagu, what are you talking about? Dagu. I cracked open. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. The Shockwave of the Ancient, with the appearance of Jestis. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Dagu. Dagu. In my ears, there is a mysterious call. In an endless primitive forest, on a stone bridge, a handsome man wearing a red and white victory team uniform hurriedly ran by. When the monsters Gorzan and Melba appeared one after another, Dagu firmly believed that Jiuliang's prophecy was correct. The pyramid hidden with giants must truly exist. He must find it. Then awaken the giant. Do you really think there will be pyramids in this place? The voice of the new city came from under the bridge. A pyramid that can accommodate giants, how could satellites not capture it? This is absolutely impossible. Hori finished speaking and crawled out from behind the stone. Looking up, he happened to see Dagu on the stone bridge ahead. Then cast your gaze further away. A huge, glowing pyramid appeared in sight. You must be joking, there really is a pyramid. Hori was shocked. Dagu, he really discovered the pyramid. Shinchan also lost his voice. Dagu. Lina tried to shout out to Dagu. But Dagu's attention was completely drawn to the sudden appearance of the pyramid and quickly disappeared at the other end of the bridge. Cross the stone bridge and run along the forest path. From time to time, Dagu looks up at the sky and pays attention to the direction of the pyramids. The distance between both sides is getting closer and closer. However, just as Dagu was about to arrive not far from the pyramid, a strange change suddenly appeared in the pyramid. Starting from the top of the tower, the pyramid turned into countless light particles dissipating. This strange scene made Dagu's heart panic. Quickly quickened the pace. Soon, suddenly, he came to an open space with the pyramid right ahead. And he also saw unforgettable scenes in his lifetime. Countless lights, poured into the body of a girl suspended in the air. The light of the pyramid did not disappear, but was absorbed. When ancient times came, it had already progressed to the latter half. The pyramid only had half of its base left, and soon the final base was also decomposed and absorbed, causing the pyramid to completely disappear. There are only 3 huge stone statues left in place, as well as that mysterious girl. What kind of person are you? Dagu looked at this scene that exceeded human imagination in shock and walked out of the clearing, trying to explore a trace of truth to this mysterious girl. She must know something. Qin Chuan looked at the silver feather badge floating in his palm, and a faint smile appeared on his cheek. After absorbing so much energy, it finally appeared. Jestis Transformers. Silver feather badge. By using it, you can transform into Jestis. Jestis. Progress 23%. Power. A. Level defense. A. Level, speed. A. Level, light. A. Level, note. Progress reaches 30%, unlock crushing form, human style. Qin Chuan, age. 18, divine level gift package. Women's clothing 100 times proficiency, progress reaches 30%, can activate the second layer of luxury gift. The power of Jestis is the same as the Jestis that appears in the theatrical version. Converted to the level of the universe, it is probably a high-level warrior. On his debut, he stood at Mount Everest in the world of Diga, and when Diga first appeared, the powerful type only had B+, while the composite type only had B. Level attributes. The strength of the two cannot be compared at all. The gap is like the gap between the Gaussian corona and the solar eclipse. The latter can beat the former too. Qin Chuan has been in this world for 5 years, and has been exercising and striving to improve his own strength since 5 years ago, preparing to become Ultraman. Originally, he was still him. But now the shamelessness of the system has successfully broken his bottom line. He, at first glance, became her. Proficiency in women's clothing is 100 times higher. After seeing the tens of billions of proficiency required for Jestis to upgrade to Regarder, Qin Chuan measured it and decisively chose women's clothing. After all, women's clothing is temporary, and Regi is lifelong. If you don't wear women's clothing, you have to spend 100 times more time transforming into Regi. Just thinking about it, it's not something that people do. What are a few years compared to Ultraman's lifespan of over 100,000 years? So, between face and strength, the traveler Qin Chuan chooses women's clothing. What's wrong with women's clothing? It's already 2021, won't anyone look down on others wearing women's clothing? Those anchors can live dance in women's clothing just for a little reward. Upon hearing the shouting from behind, Qin Chuan slowly turned around. A faint gaze, gazing at the approaching Dagu. Dagu has come closer. It was not until then that Dagu finally saw the other person's appearance clearly. Wearing a white long skirt, with a pure and gentle face, slender eyebrows, and a pair of clear spring-like eyes, the snow-white skin that can be blown and shattered, it can be seen that the age and back are not significant. Shoulder-length hair, tied high with a blue scarf to form a ponytail, with strands of hair hanging down from the temples. Her lips are very thin, giving a sense of distance. But it cannot be denied that this is a girl who makes people feel clean and shocked at a glance. Even if the ancient capital was momentarily stunned. However, under the gradually dissatisfied gaze of the other party, Dagu quickly averted his gaze. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just want you to tell me how to revive these giant statues. You must know something. Looking at Dagu's eager gaze, Qin Chuan didn't speak and directly told him with practical actions. How did the giant appear? It's just this way. The silver feather badge in the right hand emits a blue light, and the other half of the wings open. Qin Chuan pasted the silver feather badge on his heart, overlapping with himself. In Dagu's shocked eyes, a strong golden light emerged from the girl's body, and eventually transformed into a ball of light. The light ball flew into the sky, in countless golden halos and a strong sunlight, transformed into a golden red giant. Jestis, appearing. Chapter 2. The girl is the giant of light. You are listening at novelfull.audio. She, surprisingly. Giant. Looking at the mysterious girl who suddenly transformed and the huge glowing figure, the shock in Dagu's heart is indescribable. Red skin tone, silver veins, mixed with black stripes, and a blue timer resembling a sapphire in the silver feather emblem. Jestis raised his hands and looked at himself. What a powerful force. Afterwards, he lowered his head and looked at Dagu on the ground. Dagu's heart couldn't help but tremble. He actually has some fear. Are you afraid that the giant will suddenly step on you? But he thought too much. The way to revive the giant is. Jess reached out and pointed to Dagu. What does it mean? Dagu heard the voice of a giant, an ethereal yet majestic voice, like a superior, but why did the giant point at him? In short, Dagu was completely confused. Dagu, are you okay? How did the giant suddenly recover? Did you see anything, Dagu? Suddenly, voices of New City and others came from behind. The team members have arrived. Dagu instinctively shook his head, unsure of what to say. Alright, let's not say so much for now. Since the giant has already recovered, let's leave the rest to the giant. The monsters Gorzan and Melba are about to arrive, everyone evacuate here quickly. The sect interrupted the others in time. Just now he received a communication from headquarters, the monster is almost here. So everyone evacuated. On the Fian, Dagu looked at the giant standing there. Is she waiting for those monsters? Is it okay to have only one person? Dagu felt a bit worried when he thought about the delicate appearance of the young girl before she transformed, but he also felt that he was worried. She can't do it. Can we just do it ourselves? As the leader of the sect said, just leave the monster matter to the giant. Dagu once thought the same way, but now. This idea is quietly undergoing a transformation. Yeah, in the sky, suddenly came a cry of fear. A bird-like monster with wings and a dark and ferocious body gradually appeared from the sky, dragging two long white marks at an astonishing speed. It's the monster Melba that causes the sky to shatter. At a glance, the monster saw the giant of light, Jestis, standing there, and 3 stone statues not far away. It didn't hesitate at all, diving straight towards Jestis. Is it attacking giants? Or attack the statue? Do you need to choose this? Destroying the statue is to prevent the resurrection of the giant. Now that the living giant is right in front of us, why bother with that statue? Faced with the diving Merba, Jestis stood calmly in place, looking at it. Until it approaches a range of several hundred meters, Jestis suddenly turned 360 degrees in place and gave a powerful side kick. Bang! A strong golden light flashed by, unprepared. Melba was kicked down from the air by Jestis and flew past him with a loud bang, like a helicopter crashing and landing heavily on the ground. Jestis turned around and looked at Melba, who was stumbling up from the ground. He clenched his fists and strode forward. Right fist. It directly hit Melba's neck. With tremendous force, Melba's trachea was sunken, and he howled in pain. Drink. Jestis punched repeatedly. The last-inch punch. Melba was knocked hundreds of meters away and fell beside the statue. I can't get up in half a day. How impressive. Is this a giant? Monsters are no match at all. Inside the Fian, New City Horii and others were amazed. Even Dagu thinks he's overthinking. Does such a powerful giant need him to worry? What should be worried about is the monster. However, the next second this idea emerged, roar. Accompanied by a deafening roar, on the other side of the mountain, a huge monster appeared with earthquake-like steps. It's the monster Gorzan that shakes the earth. Facing the light giant who was beating up Melba, Gorzan ran straight towards him. Damn it! Giants have to face 2 monsters at once. I wonder if they can fight or not. 1-on-1 and 1-on-2 are not the same concept. You can fight someone weaker than you, but what if the other person fights together? The difficulty increases sharply. Upon hearing footsteps, Jess turned back. He firmly grasped Melba's head with his left hand and kicked back with his right foot. Gorzan's paws were also patting Jestis at the same time. But it's useless. The gap in strength cannot be compensated by strength at all. Jestis was unharmed, while Gorzan, who rushed over, was kicked out and fell several times in a row. Yeah. Melba let out a painful cry. Strange light. Melba's eyes suddenly emitted an orange light, heading straight towards Jestis, who was within reach. Bang! The Jestis' armor exploded with sparks. He also let go of his hand. After all, this is the first battle. Although Qinchuan has been practicing for the past 5 years, the objects of cultivation are all humans. The experience of fighting monsters is also considered the first battle. Being hit by a surprise attack is not surprising. Combat experience is something that needs to be compensated for through combat, not something that can be achieved through training. Similarly, Qinchuan also found that in the battle with monsters, Jestis's proficiency increased dozens of times compared to usual, and after only fighting for a while, his progress had reached 25%. Up 2%. Normally, it takes 2 months of continuous cultivation to achieve. The further you practice, the slower it becomes. It seems that in order to improve progress, the main thing is to have practical experience. So, become my proficiency. Jestis took a photo of the Mars on the armor, only feeling a little pain and not injured at all. Looking at Melba with a look of fear in his eyes, Jestis' eyes flashed cold and he headed straight for Melba. Chapter 3. Kicking Gorzan away, Diga Resurrects. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Bang. Bang bang. Boom on the earth, the sound of battle echoes. Jess is 1 versus 2. Still not falling behind. However, because I wanted to improve my proficiency for a while, I added 1 billion points of water. Otherwise, someone like Melba with weak defense would have been killed first. Wait for 1-on-1, Gorzan will have no fighting power. However, when the progress increased to 28%, Jess noticed that the proficiency growth began to slow down and eventually stopped growing completely. Looking at Gorzan and Melba again, the two monsters have been beaten to the point of losing confidence, their eyes filled with fear and despair. Justin knew it clearly. Is this being exploded? I'm afraid if it weren't for being forcibly dragged and beaten, would have wanted to run away long ago. So, before we kill you, let's use our remaining heat and become a tool monster. Jestis began to hold back. Sure enough, Gorzan saw hope and tried to consume a small amount of energy, firing a purple destructive light at Jestis, intending to repel him and escape. Melba also emitted eye light. Hereby, Schwa, Ultra Barrier. Jestis' corner of his eye scanned towards Dagu, and the angle of the auto barrier tilted slightly. Gorzan's light directed directly towards the Dagu swallow. Boom. Unable to react at all, Dagu's Fian was directly hit. Thick smoke billowed up. Dagu coughed in the thick smoke, but couldn't parachute. The way to revive the giant is. Dagu, turn into light. In the midst of coughing and the screams of his teammates, Dagu heard the giant's voice. I turn into light. Boom. The Fian has crashed. A beam of light plunged into the statue of Diga from mid-air, and Diga's color began to glow from the gray stone statue. Initially, the timer began to brighten. Finally, the light suddenly spread and the body color completely changed. Changed to red, purple, and silver. A streamlined body and handsome face, with a higher aesthetic value than Jestis. Diga, it's revived. The sudden recovery of Diga surprised the victorious team. Another giant. The monsters are completely desperate. Gorzan collapsed to the point where he wanted to hit his own face. Why did he put that ray of light on? He couldn't even hit one of them, but he was resurrected by it. Being a monster is really too difficult. I will never be a monster again in my next life. At the beginning of the revival, Diga's consciousness was controlled by the instincts of the stone statues, just like the later Masaki Kigo. The difference was only that one was good and the other was bad. And without hesitation, Diga chose to help Jestis and fight against the monster together. But also because it is instinctive, it is not clear that the monster is actually the end of the crossbow. Even without him, Jestis can still win. But being able to help is always good. Qin Chuan also doesn't dislike Diga. Speaking of which, before his time traveling, he also had a fondness for the play Diga, and naturally hoped that Dagu could still turn into light. Because he is the most suitable person for Diga. Oh, Pelio light. Diga's arms spread out, forming an L shape. The silver light shot straight into the sky towards Melba. Bicatorum light. Jestis took a step back, his arms wrapped around him, and the crimson halo turned into strong energy, converging in his arms, and finally roaring towards Gorzan in the distance. Boom! Boom! Accompanied by 2 loud explosions, Gorzan and Melba disappeared into the world at the same time. On the earth, two giants looked at each other. Afterwards, Jestis turned around and left first, walking towards the depths of the mountain. His figure gradually faded and eventually turned into a dot of light that disappeared. Diga looked at the disappearing figure of Jestis, and after a few seconds, he also raised his arms and jumped up. Disappeared in the sky. At this point, both Ultramen have left. It also came to a successful end for the battle, except for the victorious team looked down at the place where Dagu crashed, except for Dagu. Only Dagu was unlucky enough to be hit by the light. Everyone fell silent for a moment. However, at this moment, Hori, with his sharp eyes, suddenly saw Dagu running out of the bushes and waving his arms on the ground. Look, is that Dagu? He's still alive. Really, that's great. Everyone cheered in unison. On the earth, two tall giant stone statues stand tall, and TPC will carry out the recycling work later. And the victorious team also embarked on the path of returning. In the Fian, looking out the window at the scenery, Dagu sat in the back seat, listening to his teammates chatting and talking about the two giants, but he seemed lost in thought. He saw no one paying attention to him and quietly unzipped his clothes. Take out the divine light stick. After he woke up, this thing was already in his hands. He remembers himself clearly and transforms into a giant. Fight alongside another giant. So, was it through this thing that she transformed into a giant? Is she human like me? Or a true super ancient warrior? Why did I become a giant? In Dagu's heart, there are endless questions. But no one can answer for him. Perhaps, Jiuliang can. Chapter 4. Progress 30%, unlock S.level crushing form. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In order to figure out what was going on, Dagu returned and quietly turned on the time machine while no one was around. This machine that can predict must still hide more secrets. The shadow of Jiuliang is quickly reflected in front of me. My poor descendants. But the way to revive the giant is. At the beginning, it was still the same as what I heard in the command room, like a set program. But in the end, the originally noisy part mysteriously disappeared. Just. Dagu, turn into light. The shadow of Jiuliang suddenly grew larger from the image, as if standing in front of Dagu in reality. Aren't you a time machine? Dagu said with a surprised expression. This is a time machine, but it contains a high level of artificial intelligence, Jiuliang replied. The technology of 30 million years ago has reached a level far beyond human reach today, but it still perishes. Although Dagu wanted to ask, there were too many questions and he needed to answer them one by one. Why me? Why can I become a giant? Dagu asked the first question. Because you are a Diga Ultraman, your body contains the genes of a great ancient warrior. The divine light stick on your body is the best evidence. With it, you can transform into a Diga Ultraman again. Diga Ultraman. The ancient man instinctively chewed on it. That's right, the giant's name is Diga Ultraman, said Jiuliang. I understand. So, what's the name of the other giant? Dagu asked the second question. Compared to the original work, Dagu's mentality is much easier to accept, perhaps because he knows that he is not the only one who is special. Another giant. I don't know either, Jiuliang shook her head. How could it be, how could you not know? Isn't she also a super ancient giant? Dagu didn't believe it and quickly approached and asked. I haven't seen him before. His strength is very strong, even in the super ancient times, he was a very powerful warrior. But perhaps he is a lone traveler, and I haven't seen him in the light camp. There were too many giants in that era. Jiuliang shook her head. Even she couldn't possibly know all the giants. Is that so? Dagu was somewhat disappointed. I can't explain why. The last question. Since you created such a high level of civilization in the beginning, why did it eventually perish? You have so many Ultramen, didn't Ultraman protect you, said Dagu. Ultraman will not interfere with human choices because they are all light, but you are different. In ancient times, you were both light and human. That night, Dagu lost sleep. Mount Fuji. On the peak of the mountain, high in the clouds, covered in white snow. Even in hot summer weather, the temperature here is even colder than in cold winter. This is a height at which humans cannot survive. But right here, inside the magma on the belly wall of the volcano, a 2-meter-tall Ultraman is waving his fist. This person is exactly Jess. Proficiency plus 5,000. Proficiency plus 5,000. Proficiency plus 5,000. The feeling of visible improvement in strength is addictive. Indeed, the more difficult the environment is, the faster the cultivation improves. In the human state, it is only 200 points, and due to the influence of the body, the speed and duration of punching are greatly limited, while in the giant state, the body can easily achieve things that were previously impossible. Efficiency has increased dozens of times. At 28% progress now, within a week, we should be able to reach 30%. The crushing form, which is stronger than the standard form, in the Jestis theater version, but the strength of top warriors, I don't know how much their strength will increase. What treasures can be unearthed in the second stage? In short, it's worth looking forward to. Although women's clothing is a headache, 100 times proficiency is really amazing. The things generated by the system are still very practical. 1 week later, ding, progress is 30%, crushing form has been unlocked. You have received the second stage gift package, Jestis, standard form. Progress 30%. Power. A. Level defense. A. Level, speed. A. Level, light. A. Level Jestis, crushed form. Power. S. Level defense. S. Level, speed. S. Level, light. S. Level, note. Progress reaches 50%, unlock standard form V2 upgrade form, human style. Qinchuan, age. 18, divine level gift package. Women's clothing 100 times proficiency, plasma bracelet, progress reaches 50%, can open the third layer of luxury gifts, plasma bracelet. 1. A special bracelet that stores plasma spark energy internally, and the light converted from the bracelet increases its power by 10 times. When the strength reaches legendary level, the increase will be invalidated. 2. Plasma energy can also be directly extracted to fully restore its own energy. Energy unit. 3/3, can absorb solar energy for charging. This bracelet is a bit like the one Severin gave to Sero, but it's a super enhanced version. The design is so beautiful that the styles look great. Qin Chuan wore it directly on his left hand. Ding, the task function is triggered. Please make a choice. Not selecting within 30 seconds will be considered as automatic abandonment. Within 2 hours, go to Jiuliang Island to eliminate the Gakuma brothers. Reward 100,000 proficiency. 2. Go to Jiuliang Island and protect the Gakuma brothers from Diga's subordinates. Reward 100,000 proficiency. Choose 2. Without much hesitation, Qin Chuan directly chose task 2. When I was watching Diga before, I always thought that the Gakuma brothers were very innocent. Although the stones they relied on for their livelihood were mined by humans, they had to be driven away and killed. Since it can be changed now, why not help? Without an immediate departure, Qin Chuan returned to his house in the countryside. There are still 2 hours left, what's the rush? Spend half an hour first, take a shower before we talk. After wiping his wet hair with a towel, Qin Chuan came to the mirror and looked at himself. Wet hair, scattered around the cheeks, the originally snow-white skin was tinged with a rainbow halo due to hot water, and the clear spring-like eyes, if not put on a cold expression, can be said to be pitiful at first sight. Qin Chuan let out a sigh. it's too criminal for a man to grow up like this. In fact, Qin Chuan was not originally like this, but it seems to be because the system is called the Jestis system, and the Jestis human body in the theatrical version is female. So as a result of crossing over, the face shape also became feminine. Chapter 5 Jiuliang Island, Daigo. Is this body fragrance? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fortunately, it's just my face, my big knife is still there. As long as we endure these few years and become regarder, who dares to mention these dark histories? Dare to mention it all and kill it. The beauty in the mirror made an angry expression, but it not only didn't look scary, but also a bit cute. Qin Chuan suddenly became discouraged. Once again, he stiffened his face. In fact, Qin Chuan himself is not cold at all. It's just that if he doesn't put on such a cold appearance, then under women's clothing, he may be a bit too soft and cute. Soft and cute can be deceived. It's embarrassing, okay. Although I have long lost face. I found a more elegant dress and put it on. Qin Chuan locked the door and used the silver feather badge to transform into Jestis, transforming into a ball of light and flying towards the system-marked location of Jiuliang Island. Jiuliang Island. Recently, there is a legend circulating here about the stone-eating monster Gakuma. Due to the increasing rumors, even the incident of miners turning into stones has attracted high attention from TPC. After all, the monsters Gorzan and Melba that appeared earlier caused great panic. If Gakuma is real and runs out, then the consequences. It's unimaginable. So, in order to prevent potential risks, TPC replaced humans in making choices. Decide to take the first step and blow up Gakuma. At this moment, on the island, tents have been set up and TPC staff are digging pits and burying high explosive materials in nearby mines. Victory Team and Director Zay are near the tent. Suddenly, someone came to report. Director, something strange just happened. What's up? Director Zay asked in surprise. The location display for burying high explosive materials suddenly disappeared. We rushed over and found that the explosives that were originally buried had actually been dug up, not just in one place. TPC staff reported nervously. This is not a small matter. This is a high explosive. Once taken away and thrown into the city, any one of them can blow up a bank. It's too dangerous. Surprisingly, such a thing happened. Let someone investigate immediately and make sure to retrieve all the bombs. Director Zay did not panic and ordered seriously. Yes. As they waited to leave, the captain of the victory team, Ji Huikai, was surprised and asked, why would someone steal this kind of thing? We have blocked the island, and there should be no outsiders around, right? The miners on the island had all been evacuated a few days ago. Now the entire island is left with only TPC personnel. No outsiders. So this matter is very serious, there is an internal problem, I really don't know why he did this. Director Zay sighed with his hands crossed in his pockets. After discovering that the bomb was lost, TPC immediately began to secretly investigate who stole the bomb. After investigating for half an hour, we couldn't find out who came. Even the number of bombs has decreased. Bury more, bury less faster. In the end, the winning team couldn't sit still and joined the investigation team. I think things are a bit off. Where did the other party leave all the explosives after they stole them? It's impossible for there to be no movement, right? Horii climbed up a mine and looked down from the mountaintop. TPC staff are everywhere nearby. For fear of scaring the snake, it is a secret investigation to prevent the other party from hiding completely after being alert. That would be even harder to check. It's a bit strange, but there's nothing we can do. Hurry up and find it, otherwise everyone won't have to go back tonight. Xinqiang looked around with a telescope in his hand, feeling frustrated. What strange things can happen? Who is so bored on Earth? What does he want to do? Are you sick? Zhongfang, Dagu, and Lina are also conducting investigations near this mine. Everyone gained nothing. Even the ancient capital has not found any abnormalities. Buzz. As Dagu walked past a figure squatting there, the divine light stick in his arms suddenly trembled slightly, and Dagu's attention was instantly drawn. Has the divine light stick responded? Dagu's gaze swept around and quickly fell on the only figure. That person is wearing TPC-made radish and a TPC hat, focusing on digging pits and burying explosives. There is also a suitcase next to it, which looks fine. But intuition tells Dagu that there may be a problem with him. So Dagu walked towards him. It's Dagu, he actually discovered it. Seeing Dagu suddenly motionless and then coming straight towards him, Qin Chuan immediately realized that Dagu had sensed something. Plus, Dagu is also Ultraman, no wonder only he can see it. Hey! As Dagu patted his shoulder, Qin Chuan immediately dodged forward. Dagu kept an eye on him and was highly vigilant. When Qin Chuan dodged, he also reached out and grabbed him, but as a result, he naturally caught him empty. But the hand waved out touched his hat. As soon as the hat flew out, a refreshing fragrance swept past him, leaving Dagu stunned. It smells so good. It's you. When Qin Chuan turned around and faced each other, Dagu was surprised to find that the person in front of him was actually the girl from that day. Seeking flowers for evaluation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. New books need to be collected, so leave a footprint in the book review section. Sending a cheer is also supported, just afraid of being single. The author will continue to write. Chapter 6. Ignite Gakuma. Hu Dagu dismantles bombs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It has been a week since the pyramid incident, and Dagu did not expect to meet again in this way. For a moment, I was stunned. But he quickly woke up and remembered his responsibilities. Did you take those explosives? Why did you do that? Dagu asked, there must be some reason, right? Are you running over to ask such a boring question? Qin Chuan's ethereal voice rang out. How could this be called boring? Dagu couldn't help but frown. So, let me ask you a question. Must all monsters be eliminated, even those who only want to live quietly on Earth and don't want to do evil? Qin Chuan said. Monsters also have kindness. This, Gakuma, is different. It has harmed humans, and 6 people have already died because of it. Dagu naturally knew her meaning and didn't want to be misunderstood, defending himself. Yeah, humans deprived them of their living environment, took away the stones they relied on for survival, and in the end, they resisted, so they had to be killed because they had already posed a threat to humanity. It's really so sad. Qin Chuan chuckled lightly, unable to tell whether it was mockery or contempt. Dagu fell silent for a moment. From a human perspective, of course humans are right. It's the monster that's wrong. But if you stand from the perspective of monsters, they are too innocent. Gorzan Melba is indeed a ferocious monster, but are those monsters that have lived underground for a long time and have not done anything wrong. So, now that you know all of this, do you have a way to stop this? Qin Chuan then asked Dagu again. Dagu opened his mouth, but was speechless for a moment. Because he can't guarantee anything to her at all. In his human state, he is not qualified to protect monsters. Do you want to become a giant to protect monsters? I'm afraid even giants will be attacked. This is not impossible. So Qin Chuan said, Dagu asked a very boring question. Since nothing can be done, why ask? At least Qin Chuan has made some efforts. And Dagu can't do anything. If you still have a bit of kindness, do a favor and just ignore it. It's not difficult for you, right? Qin Chuan looked at Dagu standing there, feeling a bit frustrated. This matter is not Dagu's fault, he is also an powerless person. Although he has the power of Diga. I guess someone else would have the power of Diga, so I would have gone and enjoyed it long ago. The monster has arrived. Anyway, only a few people have died. Compared to the Earth's billions, it's nothing at all. TPC will eliminate it anyway. What kind of monster did you work hard to defeat? You've been covered in bruises, and who cares about you? It's better to enjoy life. Such promiscuous people as Dagu are too rare in the real world. After speaking, Qin Chuan ignored Dagu and squatted down, using a small shovel to dig out the bomb from the pit again, and then threw it into the bracelet space. The plasma bracelet comes with a super spacious storage space, which is very convenient on weekdays besides not being able to hold live objects. Has everything been put there before? No wonder there's no trace left. Dagu looked at the bracelet in her hand, which had 3 sparkling blue prismatic crystals, a style never seen on Earth. Wearing it on her fair hands, it looks pretty. So, she's not an ordinary Earthling, is she? Perhaps they are truly surviving warriors from ancient times. People are also very kind. Thinking of her actions to protect the monster, Dagu gained more knowledge of her. But doing so is useless. TPC can transport an endless number of bombs, even if it blows up the entire island of Kurashima, it is not difficult. But he didn't say that. No need, everyone knows it well. Are there some things that are not useful and should not be done? I'll come too. Dagu ultimately chose to help her. If you turn around and get scolded, you can't even be inferior to a girl. In Qin Chuan's surprised gaze, Dagu took the shovel from her hand. Where is the next one? Dagu asked. Follow me, Qin Chuan said. With the help of Dagu, the action became even more covert. At the tent. What's going on? Why are the bombs getting fewer and fewer? Zay was a bit confused. Is the borers inside TPC already so rampant? This is not alone, is it? This is a gang crime, right? This matter must be thoroughly investigated. Immediately send personnel from the police station to take over the scene, and everyone must be under investigation. Director Zay was clearly a bit angry. The person from the police station has come over, indicating that the severity of the matter has risen to a higher level. Intermediary Hui frowned. She couldn't figure out why things turned out like this. Drip by drop, Dagu, the police are coming, hurry back. The PID suddenly sounded from his waist. After Dagu connected, the voice of the deputy team of Zhongfang came from there. People from the police station. Dagu, who was digging happily, was taken aback. Director Zay felt that there were significant issues within TPC, so he decided to block the scene and come back as soon as possible, said Zhongfang. Dagu hung up. He looked at the small shovel in his hand and swallowed the saliva. I always feel like things are getting bigger. Alright, you've done this well enough. Hurry up and go back, Qin Chuan said with a smile as he stood responsible for letting go of Dagu. Dagu looked up and couldn't help but be stunned by the sudden burst of smile. So she laughed, is she so good? Looking. A soft and cute smile, sweet like an angel, completely different from when you have a straight face. In this moment, Dagu suddenly felt that it was worth it. Dagu suddenly froze, causing Qin Chuan to quickly realize something. He quickly restrained his smile and regained his cold expression. Are you still looking? Dagu cleared his forehead and quickly withdrew his gaze. So, I'll leave first. Be careful yourself. Dagu handed the shovel back to her and then fled as if. P.S. Thank you all for the flowers and feedback, thank you. Chapter 7. Awakening Gakuma Beta. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Outside the tent, the returning Dagu and Xinqing met. Dagu, what's going on? So happy. New City said strangely as he looked at Dagu with a smile on his face. Happy. Do you have it? Dagu was taken aback. Why not, you're laughing like that. Xinqiang pointed to Dagu's face, clearly feeling happy and blossoming, okay. Dagu coughed lightly, feeling a bit guilty, and quickly managed his expression. Director. Captain. Enter the tent. Everyone shouted. Inside the tent, Director Zhe, Captain, and Deputy Captain Zhongfang, along with Lina who returned soon, the victory team was all there in a blink of an eye. I have a task to assign to you when I call you back. Director Zhe said, looking at the crowd of the victory team. Task. What task? Everyone was surprised. For now, let's not mention the matter of explosives destroying Gakuma. I need someone from the victory team to pilot a Pippa underground tank, enter the ground, and lead Gakuma out. Afterwards, use the victory team's new equipment, the Texas cannon, to shoot the monster directly. Director Zhe has developed a new plan and is ready to use victory team to execute it. In the original work, Gakuma Alpha it was shattered by the bombardment of a Texas cannon. So the success rate of this plan is very high. Feasible. Wait a minute. At this moment, Dagu made a sound. It's a member of the Dagu team, what's up? Director Zhe liked this young man very much because he almost encountered danger during a mission, and it was Dagu who saved him. Afterwards, Zhe recommended him to join the victory team. Originally, Dagu was not qualified enough. Director, why do we have to kill Gakuma? Dagu asked. Gakuma was originally a monster that lived underground. It was humans who had been mining minerals and plundering the stones they relied on for their livelihood, causing them to lose their living environment, that they resisted. Now, for their own benefit, humans have to kill Gakuma, who has been living here for thousands of years and treating it as their home, just because they have resisted. Isn't this too unfair to them? Human beings, are you too selfish? Dagu's words left the victory team silent for a moment. Director Zhe also briefly pondered for a moment. Perhaps what you said, Dagu, is correct. Gakuma was not wrong, but who can guarantee that this monster will always live on this island of Jiuliang? Once Gakuma finishes eating the stone one day, or suddenly wants to leave here and come to the human city. At that time, if the public knows that we once let go of a monster, who will bear the responsibility? Director Zhe stepped forward and took a photo of Dagu, who was stunned. I am pleased with your kindness, but we are humans, and protecting humanity is also our responsibility. Don't think too much, if you're tired, go take a break. After speaking, Director Zhe said to Intermediary Huidao. I'll leave the specific arrangements to you, Captain Hui of the Intermediary. Understood, Intermediary Hui nodded. Director Zhe has left. Intermediary Hui begins to arrange tasks. Entering the underground from Lina New City, attracting Gakuma. Zhongfang piloted Victory Flying Swallow 2, using Texas cannons, responsible for killing monsters. The new equipment was transported quickly. Xinqiang and Lina are driving a Pippa underground tank, diving into the ground. They don't need to be completely close to the monster, they just need to emit ultrasonic waves below at a certain height, stimulate the monster, and let it come out actively. Watching the disappearing Pippa tank and the flying Fian 2 poised for launch, Dagu slammed his fist against the stone beside him in frustration. In the end, I still can't change anything. I don't know where she is now. Dagu thought of the girl who had just parted ways not long ago. As the screen rotates, Qin Chuan, who had taken off his disguise, was standing not far from the battlefield under a rock. I'm sorry, we can't let you kill Gakuma now. I took off the silver feather badge hanging from my heart, and the badge spread its wings directly in my palm. The sapphire was shining brightly. Not pressing it in my heart to transform. Qin Chuan will face it to the ground. Suddenly, a strong golden radiance seeped through the silver feather emblem, wave by wave, penetrating into the earth. Underground. Sleeping Gakuma Beta suddenly opened his eyes. Chapter 8. Jestis vs. Gakuma, saving Lina. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. TPC only discovered Gakuma Alpha, but I didn't notice that there was still a Gakuma on the island Beta. These two are twin brothers. Coming out. Without waiting for a long time, the Pippa tank rushed out of the ground. In a few seconds, the earth shook and in the midst of intense explosions, a monster with a unicorn emerged from the ground. Roar Gakuma Alpha roaring towards the ground. While sleeping, suddenly awakened by an unknown noise, Gakuma Alpha very angry. It's been a long time waiting for you. Zhong Fong said. Facing Gakuma, who is launching a building attack Alpha, the Texas gun slowly opened its muzzle and aimed at it. We're about to succeed. Director Zay, standing outside the tent, smiled. However, the next second, no. Zhong Fong, be careful behind you. There is a huge energy reaction rising. Zhu Jianhui was inside the tent and suddenly detected a new energy source through instruments. Realizing that something was wrong, she quickly picked up the intercom and shouted. What? Bang! The next second, the earth shook and the mountains shook. Inside the Pippa tank, Xinqing Lina was in a daze. In the strong earthquake, a second monster appeared. It's Gakuma Beta appearing. What a joke. Surprisingly, there are two monsters. The people on the island were all stunned. Staring blankly at all of this. At this moment, everyone suddenly remembered that when the miners on the island left, some people said the monster was a unicorn, while others said it was a two-horned creature. Originally, there were two monsters each. Gakuma Beta. As soon as I looked up, I saw Victory Flying Swallow 2 suspended in the air in front of me. It blinked its eyes and spewed out a blue beam of light from its mouth. Zhongfang's solo control of Xingli Fian No. 2 is already in a load state. It's difficult to aim, let alone dodge. The Victory Flying Swallow 2 was recently converted into a fighter jet, equipped with powerful weapons, but correspondingly, the difficulty of controlling it has also increased significantly. At present, the winning team is still adapting. Bang! The left wing was hit. There was no explosion, and the entire wing began to petrify. Oh no, it's the petrified light of Gakuma. Any object hit will be petrified. Under helplessness, Zhongfang had to choose to give up Fian 2 and parachute to escape. This Fian 2, which was given high hopes by Director Zay, died midway. Boom! Fian 2 crashed. Broken into a pile of stones. Petrochemical speed is quite fast. Even if Diga is hit by petrified light, it will turn into stone in a few seconds, let alone Fian 2. At this point, Gakuma Alpha. My gaze also turned to the moving Pippa tank on the ground ahead. Shwa, the blue petrified beam rushed straight ahead of the Pippa tank. Zhi, the Pippa tank quickly stopped, and a TPC work vehicle parked on the roadside in front was illuminated by light, turning into a stone. It's over, it's coming towards us. Lina looked back and saw the monster running towards her, shouting loudly. The speed of monsters is much faster than the movement speed of their tanks. No way. As the giant foot was about to step down, Dagu couldn't care much anymore. Between monsters and teammates were even more important. He picked up the divine light stick. We need to lift it up. However, before Dagu could transform, a strong golden halo appeared in the air. This radiance. Dagu looked in surprise. The next second, in the golden halo, Jess Ultraman appears. Drink. Jestis, with his right foot facing downwards and flames burning, rushed straight towards Gakuma with an unimaginable force. Alpha kick it. Gakuma Alpha, startled, quickly retreated. Bang! The giant's right foot landed on the ground, half squatting on the ground, and then stood up. A straight figure, red body, golden eyes, emitting a cold and proud light. It's a giant. The giant has come to save us. Lina exclaimed in surprise. Facing Gakuma Alpha with a wave of his hand, Jess moved his body to the right, gesturing for the other party to follow. Gakuma Alpha blinked his eyes and then moved towards Jestis. Do you think it's obedient? That's weird. It suddenly opened its mouth and spat out petrified light at Jestis. Jestis moved forward with one hand, caught the petrified light, and then shattered it. Gakuma Alpha, don't give up, continue to spit out petrified light. But they were all blocked one by Jestis. Jestis is facing towards Gakuma Alpha, moving faster and faster. The last punch hit its mouth. Let your mouth be cheap. Roar, Gakuma Alpha lifting his paws and covering his mouth, he made a painful sound of eating. Upon hearing my brother's painful cries, my brother Gakuma Beta, unable to sit still, he lowered his head and strode towards Jess, who was facing away from him. Intended to poke the giant Jestis with 2 horns. I'm also a giant. Dagu couldn't sit idly by and lifted his divine light stick to open it. In the strong light, Diga Ultraman has appeared. As soon as he appeared, he leaned heavily over and used his shoulder to directly break through Gakuma, who was facing Jestis Beta. Chapter 9. Saving Gakuma, The Thoughts of Dagu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Diga appearing behind him, Jestis nodded at him. Afterwards, his gaze returned to Gakuma in front of him once again. Alpha on my body. After witnessing Jestis catching the petrified light several times in a row, Gakuma Alpha, I couldn't help but feel a sense of fear towards it. This giant seems particularly powerful. Especially with other fists, it hurts so much. It wants to run. But when he saw his brother being attacked by another giant, he turned to the edge of his gallbladder and faced Jestis, who was pressing him step by step. His front legs showed sharp claws. Go straight to Jess's waist and grab him. Jestis grabbed its right paw and then punched it on the arm. Bang, powerful punching power, unleashing sparks. After several consecutive punches, plus 50,000 proficiency level. Plus 50,000 proficiency level. Plus 50,000 proficiency level. I have to apologize, it seems like I didn't realize it, but I had to apologize for causing Gakuma to Alpha. It turned into a sandbag. But it's okay, as a price for saving it, what's wrong with giving yourself some proficiency? Being a monster cannot be too stingy. Jestis was already paying close attention to his strength, afraid of killing him. However, even so, Gakuma Alpha, it's also unbearable. Being beaten is always unbearable. The key pain. But on Jess's side, teach children like adults. On Diga's side, it can be considered a bitter battle. Although there is a reason why Diga's strength is not as strong as Jestis, a bigger reason is that Gakuma Beta, his strength far exceeds that of his younger brother Alpha. Manifested in stronger strength and increased defense capabilities. The double horns and the stone spikes on the back have special abilities. Diga's hands touched the opponent's horns, causing him to be paralyzed by lightning. He attacked with his fists, but before he could land on the opponent's back, he was repelled by the red flash that erupted from the stone spike. I can't get close at all. Schwa, after repelling Diga again, Gakuma Beta spitting out petrified light. Directly hit Diga. Diga began to petrify from Shuangui. Ding dong, the Diga timer started flashing. Upon hearing the sound of the timer, Jess turned back. He did not choose to directly help Dagu. Why do we need to add Gakuma Beta? Leaving it for Diga is to allow him to fight, familiarize himself with his own strength, and enhance his combat experience. An Ultraman standing only behind is not even a warrior. Standing behind others will only weaken. But here, there are also issues with the plot. Although in the original work, Diga also played against Gakuma Beta, but in the end, it is only after becoming a powerful type that there is enough strength to turn defeat into victory. But now, due to the Qin River, the other 2 forms of Diga have not appeared at all. Dagu now has no idea that there are still 2 forms of Diga that can be switched. Seeing himself about to petrify, Dagu felt immense fear in his heart. He reached out his hand to Jess, hoping that he could help him. And then he faced the cold face of Jestis. Can't it be? Does she want to kill herself? Dagu's heart was incredibly cold. But just as Dagu was about to completely despair, Jestis suddenly crossed his arms on his forehead and made a strange pose. Although Dagu was momentarily stunned, at a critical moment, his potential exploded. Instantly grasped the essentials. Diga crossed his arms and, after a while, suddenly spread them out. Accompanied by the light of the crystal lamp on his forehead, his entire body turned into a fiery red color just like Jess. Bang! The powerful force instantly shook open the stones covering his body. Then Diga transformed into a powerful form, pressing down on Gakuma Beta Fight. In a moment, the situation was completely overturned. Giants can actually change their forms, it's really amazing. Horii exclaimed as he watched Digia's performance. Dilahum Light Flow. As Digia was about to unleash his ultimate kill, Jestis suddenly made a backflip and approached him, lifting his arm to stop him. What's going on? Digia asked. Let me do it, Jess. After speaking, gather the light energy with both arms. Hope it works. Jestis Impact. Orange light, shooting from both wrists, first shone on Gakuma Beta on the body, it later shone on Gakuma Alpha on the body. When the light stopped, Jess put down his arm. Two Gakuma also closed their eyes and crawled on the ground, completely turning into stones. It seems that it has been successful. Jestis walked forward, picked up a Gakuma fossil, glanced at Diga, then kicked his toes, raised his arm, and flew towards the sky. Diga probably knew her consciousness and approached to lift another Gakuma. Soon, the figures of two Ultramen disappeared from sight. I don't know where they went. He looked up at Ultraman until they completely disappeared into the sky, and Horii lowered his slightly sore neck. Are those two Gakuma dead? Lina asked. She and Xincheng have long escaped from the battlefield. Almost always until the end. Perhaps dead, maybe not. I believe giants will handle everything well, but from today's incident, at least we know that giants help humans, don't we, said Huijia with a smile. From Jessica's actions, it can be seen that the giant is indeed standing on the side of humanity. Lina blinked her eyes, and the image of the giant landing reappeared in her mind. How handsome. Over the earth, Jestis and Digia flew towards the moon together. Ding dong. Ding dong. Digia's timer keeps flashing. But the battle has ended, he can hold on for a while longer. Perhaps, I just don't want to part ways so quickly.